you know, those halcyon days in between the wars in England, which didn't exist, but we like to think exist in films like Atonement. Oh, we're such suckers for romanticism. I love it. I don't have a massive kitchen, so I would prefer to sort of, you know, hunker down in it than try to pretend that it's enormous. As being attacked by hops. It was a... Back off! Hydrangea heads. Oops. There go the hops again. Nobody look at the hops. Say hello, Prudence. No. Ooh, so grouchy. It's going to be an exceptionally misty school run today. Misty and wet. But the birds are very loud this morning, which I think is a great sign. Chatting, happy. Let's do this. Well, hello, welcome to outside. I am outside with my Prue because I'm working all morning on my laptop and I need to just get outside and do something. So I'm going to actually do something with these hydrangea heads. Handily enough, they are right there. So these are an Annabelle. I'll show you the entire plant. It's enormous. This will be its third year in the ground. I bought it and it was a nice size, but it was still a pot size. And it is now enormous. It's done so well here. Love it in the summer. The deers don't eat the hydrangeas, and I get these fabulous dried blooms right throughout the winter. So yeah, I mean, ignore all the twigs. I'm going to have a good old sweep. That's after all the storms. But look, this hydrangea bush is absolutely enormous. It's done so well. So I'm thinking I'm going to take a few of these inside. And I've got the perfect place for them. I've got to be careful not to cut too low down because obviously there are some buds coming through right now. And it's important to leave some buds for the new growth. Hydrangeas don't grow on old growth. And I've left at least 2 new buds on each stem. But look at this, they're gorgeous. And they're going to look so lovely in the place that I've got planned for them. There's one, not so big this time. I'm loath to cut them off in some ways because I know that they protect the plant to a certain extent. But this area, although it's on the front of the house, it's actually really protected. It does get windy and it can get frosty, but it's not super exposed. You've got quite a lot of shelter around here, not back there, but around here. You've got quite a lot of shelter. And I just know that this plant will be okay. I've also cut all of the flowers off before in the winter, and it's been absolutely fine. So I'm trusting the process. Here we go, a huge big bunch of dried Annabelle hydrangea heads. These are perfect for exactly what I want to do with them. Love them to bits. I may come out and get some more because there's still tons on there. I think I've probably taken, I don't know, this is maybe a 5th. Yeah, not much at all. Exciting. It's actually 9 a.m. on Saturday morning. I was just checking on Saturday morning. And this is how much light I have at this time of the day. It's not very much at all. It's very, very cozy, but it makes filming vlogs very, very difficult. I don't like artificial light. I have to work with a light that I really, really love. A lot of the time that's sort of candlelight, natural light. If it's fairy lights, they're warm, white fairy lights, as opposed to the blue ones. You know, that sort of thing. These shelves in the kitchen, they've got this sort of LED strip here that isn't working. It's falling off, as you can see. It does throw a nice light into the kitchen when it's hidden. It's tolerable, but the countertops and the shelves are an area that I sort of parked before Christmas. And now that it's January or we're nudging towards Feb, I'm going to start focusing on how I want this to be. I've got an idea and I look forward to showing you, but for the moment, because it's still so dark outside, I'm keeping this LED strip here just for practical use, for practicality. But I want to show you what I'm going to do with the dried hydrangea heads, because even if this strip light stays, the hydrangea heads will still be there. So I can sort of forge ahead with certain parts of it. Okay, ignoring the fact that the LED lights are coming unstuck under here. I believe them to be temporary. I've put 2 brass hooks. I've screwed them into either end of this shelf. These shelves are scaffold boards that I had at the deli, but then I brought home because they weren't being used, so I kept them in the garage, and they've, you know, I like to just sort of reuse stuff. So they've come in super handy because they're the chunky shelf that I really wanted. And these have been painted, oh my goodness, it's Farrow and Ball Sulking Room. These are Sulking Room Pink. They're slightly too lilac for me, as the walls are setting plaster. This is slightly too lilac. I might have a rethink, which would be a pain because I'm about to decorate them. But, you know, we'll see how it goes. And these are held up with on brackets with brass brackets. So I've run some wire, just some florist wire, from one hook to the other, and wrapped it around the hook at either end, just really simply. The hydrangea heads are not heavy at all, and so I don't, I don't need anything too sturdy. As you can see, I've added some hydrangea stems. I wound them in wire and I attached them with the wire to the wire on the shelf. And I'm going to trim the edge of the shelves with these hydrangea heads. This is a very small space, so I am embracing the size of it and almost trying to make it even more cozier, which some people might say, well, you're making it even more smaller. It's my belief that you have to work with a space. I don't have a massive kitchen, so I would prefer to sort of, hunker down in it than try to pretend that it's enormous and it not work. So I'm erring on the side of cozy as opposed to trying to create something that's not going to be possible. I love the colour of these. I think that these go really well with the walls and the shelves and the copper. They're warm tones. This will change in the spring, can almost guarantee it. So I might take them down, but for the time being, I'm bringing the outside in. It will add texture and interest and just help me to make this space even cozier. It's not going to get warm anytime soon. I was looking back on my phone and the last time it snowed properly, it was in March. So these have got at least 2 months. But I don't feel like I'm quite finished. I've made a mess, but I'm not quite finished. What I've done is I have put another hook and wire contraption along there. So the one up there was originally there for Christmas as being attacked by hops. It was a back off. So it was originally there for Christmas, as I was going to put a garland along there, but there was no point. I just put them over the windows. But this is going to be perfect for the rest of the hydrangea heads that I've got. And to be honest with you, they'll probably stay up there a lot longer than these ones will stay here. So I'm placing the hydrangea heads sort of going in different directions, facing the opposite way to each other, just to start with. And then I'll trim the stem so it's shorter once it's in place and I'm happy with it. They don't really need such long stems. Only a couple more to do. So I'm just going to tuck these last two hydrangea heads. Oops. There go the hops again. Nobody look at the hops. I'm just going to tuck these in here. I don't even need any wire at this point. They just sort of go in like that. Yeah, and they stay there. They're so light. And then one more. Just to close that gap there. I think we're done. Ah! Ever so slightly haphazard, as is my way. But I think they go well with the copper and then the still life pictures I have back there. Little straw sweep there, and then this little French latte bowl. So after my auction debacle, I tried to sort of get over the trauma of it all and that sense of loss. Obviously I'm being highly dramatic, but I thought I'd take myself out. I had like an hour before I had to go on the school run. So I went to two places that are quite local. They're about 10 minutes drive from where I live, maybe 15. They're in a couple of towns along. And I found three things. And of course, you know, I don't think we should buy stuff to make us feel better, but oh my goodness, do I feel better. One of them is a beautiful spring jacket, which is rather sort of reminiscent of an old Kate Spade. It's not, but it's a really good quality. So I'm looking forward to wearing that in the spring, and I'll show you that then. But look at what I got. Look at the pretty picture. I love it. I love the colours. It's that blue red. I love. Gorgeous. So I'm not sure whether that will go at home. I'll hang that at home in the cottage. It's very cottagey. Or I will hang it in the deli belly. The deli. I call it the deli belly. Or I'll hang it in the deli. So I'll see how it goes. I might do something with the frame as well. But it's not that bad. It's just not, I don't know. The frame isn't working for me in a super duper way. And then I got these amazing cider measures. Look, with their hooks. I'll be able to hang these up in my kitchen after I've given them a good polish, obviously, because I love copper, but I love anything sort of French rural, which in the case, maybe not of the cider, but anything sort of copper, I always just think of a rural French farmhouse. And then with the picture, it just reminds me of something that my granny would have had, or something from, you know, those halcyon days in between the wars in England, which didn't exist, but we like to think exist in films like Atonement. Oh, we're such suckers for romanticism. I love it. I know when I see something, if it's meant for me. I'm quite good at that. I get highly stimulated when I go into antique shops or even supermarkets. It's got to be said, I have to have a list, or I have to know what I'm looking for. Otherwise it doesn't work and my brain shuts down and I have to leave and it's game over. Usually, if I can buy one thing, I can buy something else. And in this case, I saw the cider measures and I just thought, yeah, they're really reasonable. I'd seen them elsewhere at places like Ardingly, and they had been extortionately expensive in comparison. And then when I saw this picture, it was hidden away and it was really, really reasonably priced. Oh, I'm delighted. I'm thrilled to bits. I feel, yeah, it's nice to have Christmas presents late in the day, isn't it? It sort of delays the gratification. So I'm going to clean my cider measures that I got from Stable Antiques just the other day. And I thought we could have a chat while I do it. This time last year, around January, well, it was sort of before Christmas last year, my lower back started to really, really hurt. It was achy most of the time, and it got to the point where it would wake me up in the middle of the night if I turned over in bed. There was one day when I was sat on the sofa and I got up to put a log on the fire. It was when so it's last year, so I still had fires. And I got up to put a log on the fire. I leaned forward to get the log to throw it on, and there was just no strength there. I had nothing there. And I remember having to put my hand up on the wall to sort of bend down and get the log to throw it on. And I was just supporting myself a lot. So I'd always been really active. I'd always done Pilates, I'd done a lot of yoga, and I was always rushing around, you know, it's that sort of thing. I'd always been active gardening. In fact, I credit Pilates the fact that when I was carrying my twins, I didn't have one moment of backache. My core was so strong at that point that I just had enough strength to carry them both. They went to term. I think I went to 38 weeks. And they were, oh my gosh, I've forgotten what they, 6'11" and 7'1". No, it's 6'11" and 7'1". Wow, I'm just having one of those days. 6'11" and 7'1". No, definitely. Anyway, they were fairly big for twins, and they were so heavy that I remember I had them in June, and it was a really, really warm June. And there was one day where they were so big, I felt like they were like up to here. And this was my first mistake. I lay down on my back to try and get some sleep, and I couldn't get the momentum to turn over onto my side to sit up again. And I thought I just couldn't breathe because they were so heavy on me. And it brought on like a panic attack. It was awful. 6'11", 7'1". But so I'd carried the twins and not had any backache. So this backache that just wouldn't go away was it was troubling, and I didn't understand it, and I just wanted it gone. So last January, I went back to the gym. I'd had a gym membership for ages and ages, but I'd only gone into the gym. So I'd used the elliptical for cardio, and I'd used the weight machines for strength training, which as a woman at my age is important. So I went back to the gym last January, and I did a combination of Pilates, standing Pilates, which is amazing. I did Kundalini yoga. I also did a yin yoga almost at sunrise. And that was lovely because that was just holding stretches for a very long period of time. So it's sort of up to sort of 3 minutes you would hold them. They were quite gentle stretches, but when you're holding them for 3 minutes, you do need to build your strength up to do that. It was all very, very low impact, but really good for core work. I lucked out with the teachers. My Kundalini teacher is just extraordinary. She does lots and lots of meditations and classes online for free. So I will leave her links down below. And my Pilates teacher is just, she's just extraordinary. Her name is Francoise, and I believe she's 71. She's 71. She is the most vibrant, fit, strong, funny, knowledgeable teacher I have ever come across with regards to Pilates. She's absolutely extraordinary, and she kept me going. So she's not interested in how far you can bend. She's interested in your form, whether or not you're doing it correctly, because Pilates isn't about, how high you can get your leg. It's about the position of your body. And some of the movements are really, really small. So I'd been going for sort of 8 months at this point. So it was August last year. And the whole of my body was a lot stronger, and it was amazing, and I was loving it. Apart from this one pocket right at the base of my spine, nothing was touching it. So eventually I managed to get an MRI scan on it last August, just after getting back from holiday. And the consultant had the MRI of my spine on the wall and said, well, what can we see here? Do you notice anything? And I looked down my spine and then got to the bottom, the very, very bottom. And whereas all of the discs on the x-ray were just perfect sort of spheres, the one at the bottom just looked like gravel. He told me it was a collapsed disc. I asked him whether or not had I done anything to cause it. I fell off a horse about 5 or 6 years ago, and I landed on the base of my spine. I said, well, was it that? He's like, no, not at all. It could be hereditary. It could be just wear and tear. It can happen. He gave me various options, like surgery, injections, that sort of thing. I said no to all of them. I said, I'm just going to continue with the exercise and build up strength in every other part of my body and just learn to work with this collapsed disc in the bottom. And it's okay, I just have to think about movement. It's sad because I was always extremely flexible, extremely fit. It makes you sad when you go to a class for weeks and weeks and weeks, and there are some movements or postures where you're making absolutely no progress because you've lost a certain amount of mobility. So that's a shame, but it is what it is. But then towards the end of last year, so around October time, I got so incredibly busy with work that I stopped going. And I didn't go at all through the autumn, and I didn't go at all over Christmas. And I went back again, a couple of weeks to Kundalini, and then I went back to a stretch class with Francoise just this week. And I can't tell you, it's just my happy place. I think what people don't tell you is that when you're on the mat, you're really vulnerable. If you're in a class where you are in a safe space and you're getting to grips with an older body, you are vulnerable. And that's why I do not go to like spin classes or anything high impact. A, I couldn't do them. And B, it's not what I'm seeking as a person, and it's not what my body is seeking at the moment. My body, I think, is seeking, it needs to be taken care of whilst it's building strength. And that is what I have found at these classes. These teachers are incredible. So I just wanted to tell you just what my story or my journey has been with this, with sort of going back to almost like full-time exercise a bit later, but in a different body. I was incredibly discouraged for many months before I knew about my disc. If you were looking at going out to exercise, don't just settle for your nearest gym. Go and find classes and people, like other students and teachers, that you really, really like and that you feel you can connect with. It is so important. This is a journey. This is it for me now. I will have to maintain. I mean, when I went to the class, the stretch and flex class, and I saw Francoise for the first time in months, and we chatted and she was amazing and she gave me this massive hug. But my thing was, I'm starting again. I'm starting from scratch. And that was just, I felt so defeated. And she's like, no. You'll remember it. And I do, of course, it's muscle memory, but I'm not as strong as I was. It takes a lot longer to build it up than it does to lose it. So if you're thinking, if you've been going to the gym a lot and you're thinking of maybe not going, just go. Get it over and done with. Maybe the reason you don't want to go is because you're in the wrong place or in the wrong class or the wrong environment. It could be that. I lucked out, but I knew where I go, I knew they were good. But I also knew I had to curate a collection of classes for me. And I promise you, I went to several classes at my gym last year. I went to one and I didn't go back. They just weren't for me. They were amazing quality, but they weren't for me at this time. It was Joseph Pilates himself who said physical fitness is the prerequisite to happiness. He had rickets, he had lots wrong with his body until he sort of developed his own technique. And if you Google pictures of Joseph Pilates, like 80 years old, he's in incredible shape. There are women in the classes that I go to that I admire so much. They're 25, 30 years older than me, along with my instructor, Francoise, who are there as often as they can be. Everyone's really busy, but they're there as often as they can be. And they're doing what they can. And I've got to be honest with you, when I first started, these women were doing more than I could do. Even if you don't feel like it, you're doing it for your body and your mind and yourself in 10 years' time. I finished one. I've still got 2 more to go. This one looks better. Yeah, they'll look lovely. I don't know where I'm going to put them. Probably in the kitchen. Undoubtedly in the kitchen, but I'm not sure where yet. So I've got my tea, I've got my copper pots, and I'm just going to finish these off now. I hope you've enjoyed this week. It's all been a whole bunch of not very muchness, I think, but that's all right. It's still January. Have a lovely week. I'll be back in the middle of the week with our roundup of Wintering by Catherine May, our Cozy Nook book club book. So you've still got a few days to finish it. Take it easy, take care of yourself, and I'll see you next week. Lots of love. Bye.